And I was like, well, I didn't say anything. It's not like I wasn't belittling him. I wasn't telling him that he was not a good employee. I just told him, I said, you need to speed up. You need to get faster. I need you to move faster. Because when we have a line of people, I need him to move through the line as quickly as I'm moving so that we can get the customers taken care of faster. You know, they're coming in for lunch. A lot of them are business people who are, you know, trying to get in and out because they only have a half hour for lunch. And when we're taking our time, it causes them to either run over their lunch hour or they end up having to leave their, you know, they end up having to take their food back to the office because they didn't have time to finish it. And so that's what I was trying to tell this young man, is that he needed to speed up. So this was on the 13th. So at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, usually that's when Cassie leaves for the day. And she did. She was leaving for the day because she had to work her other job. And then, so I told Eric, who's the young man who's working the front with me, I said, hey, you're on your own. I'm going to go do dishes. And I told the boss, I said, hey, Will, I'm going to go do dishes if you need me. He was like, okay. So I went to the back and I started doing dishes. And I get through all of the dishes. I start cleaning the equipment that Ben uses to make cheese and shred mushrooms and green peppers and all that good stuff. And so I was finished washing them. They came out of the washer, and I was starting to take them back to the back to get put away. Now, Ben is in my way, so I can't put them on the rack where they belong. And I'm looking at the table, and I'm looking for a spot. And I'm like, okay, no, can't do it there, can't do it there. And Ben looks at me and he goes, you can just put it on the table. And I said, Ben, the table is filthy. I'm looking for a clean spot where I can set these down so they don't get dirty again. And he goes, oh. He hadn't noticed that the table was still dirty because he was starting to clean up. He was starting to put everything away. And so he hadn't gotten to the table yet. And I'm not like the other employees, and neither is he. We won't just put things down. We'll actually try to make sure that we set things down where it's clean. Or we'll clean the space, and then we'll set things down. And so I set them down, and he kind of looks at me from the corner of his eye, but makes it look like he's not really paying attention to what I'm doing. And he goes, you know, if you want, you can take the colander too. You can take the colander with you, is what he said. And I said, okay. And I grabbed the colander and I start to walk away. And he says, thank you. And I said, you're welcome. And because I've told him, I said, I don't like being told what to do. I know what to do. I know how to do things. The boss constantly tries to tell me how to do things. And I batter back at him. So they don't cut the ham down. They rip it into pieces as they're topping a pizza. I take the ham and I will cut it into smaller pieces, and then I will distribute it on a pizza. It looks better. And every time I do this, Will be like, there you go, wasting time. And I said, it takes 2 seconds to cut the ham. I'm topping 2 pizzas with the ham. I'm saving time. I said, leave me alone. I know what I'm doing. Just because it's different from what you're used to doesn't mean it's wrong. And Ben was standing right there when I said that to him. So he knows I don't like being told what to do. So on Friday, Will is telling Ben. This is still on the 13th. Will is telling Ben about how he just got his iPhone watch paired to his car because they have Teslas. Both Will and Ben have Teslas. Will's Tesla is black. Ben's Tesla is red. This is how God told me one is ready, the other is not. One is covered in the blood, the other is not, because he does not want to return to God. He will eventually, because God will make him return to him, but it won't be right now. So had I chosen had I chosen to stay with the first choice, with the choice that God said, well, he's not ready, he will be, but it's going to take time, he would break my heart over and over and over again. I would go through trials and tribulations with him. I would suffer through whatever growth he had to go through in order to come back to God. And frankly, not that I'm not willing to go through these things, but God has given me the choice. He said, you have been through enough. I am not going to force you to go through this with this man. This man is not ready. I must take him through some things first. Do you want to go through those things with him? Or would you prefer this man who is ready, who is waiting, and he is my choice for you? And I said, I want your choice for me. I have gone through so much, through pain, struggles, tribulations. I'm ready to rest. And if you're willing to give me rest, I accept the rest. And so God says, okay. And so Ben it is. So, Will is constantly trying to discourage the relationship from blossoming. He's too late. The relationship has blossomed, and God has watered the garden. God has cultivated. God has tilled. God has cleared, and he is now going to allow us to harvest the fruits of his labor, because we are both ready. It is both our time. We are both in agreement. We are both in sync with each other, with God. We both understand our roles. We both understand our assignments. He's helping people on his side. I'm helping people on my side. And it's just a different way of being. So he has interactions with other women, and I know this. He has interactions with good-looking women, women who are still in the world and are willing to do whatever they have to do to take a good man away from a good woman. And I don't jealous him. I don't blow him up and go, I am feeling vulnerable, I'm feeling scared. I take it to God. I'm like, Father, I don't understand why you have him talking to these women. I don't understand why you have him going through these things. But if it is your will, if it is your way, I submit to it. And then God allows me to see behind the curtain, to see why he has them talking, why he has him talking to these women the way he has him talking to these women. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so I understand. So I don't treat him or mistreat him because I see things one way, because it's not my flesh. I don't let my flesh rule. I let God rule. Okay. So back to this conversation about the car. So Will is telling Ben that he just paired his iPhone watch to his car so he can now unlock his car, turn his car on, as he sees fit. And Ben goes, yeah, I have an Android, so I have to get an Android watch. And Will says to him, he goes, well, I need a watch first. I don't have one yet. And he goes, why don't you just take Jamie's? Jamie is the woman that was in a relationship with Ben before me. And So Will's got his back to me because I'm making ranch, or I'm putting ranch in cups for the night. And Ben is looking directly at me. And he says, kind of absentmindedly, he looks absentmindedly, but I know exactly what he's doing. He's looking straight at me, but kind of like he has this look of like he's kind of looking into the oblivion. And he says, "No, Apple's not compatible with Android, and I have an Android. I have an Android. That's my phone. I have an Android phone." He knows I have an Android phone. He actually used to have an iPhone. No, he had an Android before. And it was the flip phone. And it's the phone I want. And I told him that. I'm like, "Oh my God, I've always wanted the flip phone." I said, "How do you like it?" And he's like, "Oh, it's awesome. It's this and that." But it broke. Or at least that's what he said. So he got himself another phone. And I was like, okay. Okay. And so when Will said, you should just take Jamie's. And Ben's like, "Apple isn't compatible with Android." And then Will said, "Well, then get an Apple." And he goes, "No, I've had Android now for 8 years, and no, it's not compatible." And I knew what Ben was saying in that moment. Him and Jamie weren't compatible. They didn't fit. And I know because we've talked. He's told me. He's like, "She doesn't get the way I cook." And so there was a time where I was cooking for him because of a competition, if you remember. And he asked me to send him some of the recipes that I was creating. And I sent them to him, and he made a comment about the next day. He made a comment about how Jamie always complained that he didn't use measurements on his recipes. And without missing a beat, I said, "Well, because you do it by taste." And he goes, "Exactly." And that was one thing he wasn't expecting. He wasn't expecting that I was going to be the kind of cook that he is, which is we do everything by taste. And I said, when I was younger, when I was immature, and I didn't know how to cook, yeah, I needed the measurements. I said, but now that I've been cooking for a long time, I said, now I do it by taste. I don't do measurements. But I hadn't realized that I had sent him the recipe without the measurements. I thought I had, because I wrote them in, but it wasn't. I wrote them in after I took the picture, not before. So I went back and I'm like, "Oh crap, I took the wrong picture." I sent him the wrong picture. I meant to send him the one with the listing of all the different measurements. And there have been things that we've talked about over the last few months, things that have really cemented us as being together. And I just I was just in awe of the things that God has allowed us to witness through each other and the experience with each other. And so he understands, like he helps me whenever I need support or whenever I have something that I'm struggling with. In fact, that same day, so between the conversation of the car and the phone and the watch, earlier and is it before or after the? It was after, actually, because I was putting I was putting the dressings in. No. This was before the colander. I was actually, I was not washing dishes yet. I was going back for something in the walk-in, but I don't remember. Oh yeah, I was going to get ranch. And I was laughing. And I said, you know, if he had listened to me 3 weeks ago, he wouldn't be dealing with it today. And Ben looks at me and he goes, who's not listening to you now? And I said, Will. He goes, what? And I said, yeah. I said 3 weeks ago, I told him that the handle to the toilet in the women's restroom needed to be replaced. And Will's like, it's all right. No, it'll be okay. And I was like, all right, whatever. The following week, a woman said the same thing I did, that the handle needed to be replaced. And I told Will. And he said, it'll be okay. And I'm telling Ben this, but I'm saying it, it'll be okay. He's laughing. And then I said, so guess what he's doing today? I said, I went into the bathroom to go to the bathroom, and the freaking handle fell off. And I said, here you go. Now you have to replace the handle because I told you 3 weeks ago that it needed to be replaced. And you said, it'll be okay. Ben was laughing his ass off. He's like, oh my God. And then, but he's making a mental note. When Diana tells me that I need to fix something, she's not going to babysit me. She's not going to nag me and go, you didn't fix it. You didn't do this. You need to go. You need. I'm going to wait till it breaks. And then I'll be like, here you go. Since you didn't listen, now you have to spend more money and spend more time taking care of something that you could have done earlier. But I didn't say that either. I didn't say that to Will. I'm like, here, now you really do have to fix it. I told you it was busted. Told you it was broken. You need to fix it. And he's like, all right, gotta go to Home Depot. Go buy the part. Told him about the lights. Lights need to be replaced. He's like, they're okay. Okay. Then he turns around. There's like 5 lights that he replaced. He's like, crap. When did all those go out? I said, that one went out yesterday. That one went out the week before. That one went out 3 weeks ago. But you said it was okay. So. And he's like, if I had just done it before, I wouldn't have to replace 5 of them. I'm like, that's right. But you wait until you have a boatload of things to do. And then you complain because you're busy. You don't have time for anything because you have all these other things that you've got to get done. And I'm like, instead of doing them in a timely manner. And Ben is witnessing all of this. And he's like, okay, don't do that. Because it upsets you. And I don't like to upset you. And so he doesn't wait until I ask for things. He sees me struggling. He's like, here, give me that. I'm like, okay. I don't fight him. I'm like, okay. I don't say, oh, I can do this, because God taught me. When you're being offered help, you receive it. I'm like, okay. Because I used to be the fighter. I used to be like, no, I can do this. I can do this on my own. And he's like, I don't want you to do it on your own. I know you can do it on your own. I've raised you up. I've leveled you up. I don't need you to do it on your own anymore. I don't need you to lift heavily anymore by yourself. I need you to lean on your support. I need you to lean on the people that I've given you to support you, to help you, to keep you at peace. I'm like, oh, so I need to stop fighting? He goes, yeah, stop fighting it. And just let them help you. You don't have to do it all by yourself anymore. So now guess what's happening? Because I'm now stepping back. I'm now stepping away from doing it all myself. So now that the bosses are dealing with things on their own and trying to do things for themselves, because before they had me, and they're like, oh, I can lean on Diana. Diana can do it all. I don't have to worry about it. As long as I have Diana, Diana will take care of it. And it's like, well, yeah, I'll take care of it, but I still need help. I still need your support. I still need you to be the manager and take control of a situation. Instead, they were letting me do all the heavy lifting. And God's like, step back. Step back and don't do it anymore. So now that I'm stepping in when God tells me to, this is how I'm met at the end of a shift. Thank you, Diana. Thank you for helping. Thank you for your support. Thank you for being here. Thank you for doing a good job. Thank you. The first time it happened, I was like, am I in the Twilight Zone? Like, what? Like, they used to take me for granted. They used to just go, oh, Diana will take care of it. Like, they would just assume. And now they're like, they're appreciative. It's a completely different attitude that I'm receiving. And I'm just in awe of all of it. Like, God, you're just so good to me. Like, I can't even explain. Okay, so that was the 13th. So at the end of the night, God had led me to send a text to Ben a couple days before, because Ben had questions like, does she even feel anything for me? Like, is anything even happening to her? Like, she looks like she's just going about her business like nothing's going on. Like, I don't know how she really feels. I don't know how she really thinks. Like, she keeps herself so reserved, so bottled up. And it's because God has me that way. Like, I'm not going to go tell anyone anything unless God tells me to. And so God, the Holy Spirit, led me to send Ben a text saying certain things to him about how I'm feeling, about the reaction my body has when he's near me. And on Friday, God's like, okay, you're going to go out tonight. I'm like, okay. So I took a change of shirt. I didn't change my shoes. I kept my shoes the same. Now, the weekend before, I had changed my shirt. I wore boots, and I was looking good. And these two guys ended up talking to me, and I sent Ben a text, and I'm like, hey, Ben, you know, these two guys were talking to me. We had a great time. We were talking about basketball, and so fear crept in. Jealousy crept in, because God is trying to show him how he feels about me. And by me being obedient, God is highlighting those feelings. Like, why are you feeling this way? What is it about her that makes you want her? What makes you want her? And so, because he was in self-denial, saying, oh no, she's just a coworker, she's just a friend, she's just this, she's just that. But God is finally opening his eyes to who I am to him. And so, you know, it's a long, drawn-out process, and I am being obedient to the way God is leading me. I'm doing the work that God is leading me to do. He sends me through Ubers. He sends me through different things, different people. I talk to different people at different times, men, women. There was a man sometime last week wearing nails and being feminine, and God was giving you insight on loving each other like brothers and sisters. And I was like, okay, but people say don't throw your pearls to swine. And he goes, is this man a swine? I'm like, I don't know. You tell me. And he goes, no, he's my child. He's in denial about who I am to him, but he won't be for very long. And I need you to show him love. I need you to show him understanding. I need you to show him a different way of me being. And I'm like, okay. And so I commented on his nails. I commented on his hair. I commented on, you know, this or that. And we're talking. We're having a good time. And he's being very feminine. And at the end of the conversation, when I was ready to go, I'm like, oh, God bless. And I left. And he just looked at me like, he didn't understand. Like, he's like, people who love God don't like me. They hate me. I'm like, I don't hate you. God says to love everyone. Until God says, don't love this person, I don't. I walk away. I set my boundaries and I walk away. I pull my light away from them because that's what God says to do. But it's not by my choice, it's by God's choice. So at the end of the night, again, I got to stay late. I was putting away dishes because I was doing dishes. Will says to me, Dee, don't stay too late now. And I looked at him, and then Cody looks at me and he goes, you can go home, Diana. And I'm like, well, why didn't you say anything? And he just smiled. And he goes, have a good weekend. I'm like, thank you. But it's different. See, before, he made me feel, he would always creep me out whenever he looked at me. But I noticed that since 12/12, there has been a change. There has been a different behavior within Will towards me. And Ben has changed towards me as well. And not in the sense of like he's pulling away from me, but it's like he's more calm, more at peace. And I'm noticing that because I feel peace. I feel calm. And so I know what it looks like. I know what it feels like. And so I'm looking at him now and I'm seeing the same thing. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. He is having God's peace. And God has been telling me that he has God's peace in him. But I hadn't seen it. Now I'm seeing it. I felt it, but now I'm seeing it. And so, as Ben's leaving, I'm walking out with him and we're talking. And this is how it started. He was looking at the schedule. And I'm like, you're working Saturday? And he goes, yeah, it's because, Luisa's on vacation, so I'm picking up a shift. And so we were both walking outside, and then I go, yeah, but why couldn't they make you work 6 days a week? I said, you don't need a day off. And he goes, I know, right? And then I say, wait, that means I have to work with Zach 3 days next week. Why am I getting punished? And he just laughs. And then, so he's like pulling his seats, putting them back the way they're supposed to be so that, his car looks like normal. Because when he's driving pizzas around, he moves around his seats to be able to fit the orders that he's putting in. And so he's putting everything back because he's a very meticulous man, just like I'm a very meticulous woman. And so he grabbed his jacket out of the back seat. He was putting it on. And I hear the music that's playing. And I'm like, wait, what are you listening to? And he goes, oh, I don't know. I just hit play on the thing and it just randomly picks a song. And I'm like, wait, so you're driving around with a party in your car? And he goes, yep. And I said, so basically you got techno music going on. And he goes, exactly. And so I said, well, have a good night. And he says, you too. And then he says, see ya. And I said, see ya. And so I turn around and I walk away. And I've been noticing that it's been taking him longer and longer to get out of the parking spot and leaving. And this time he stayed like behind. And I was like, what the heck? So I got to the bus stop and I was waiting for the bus. And right before the bus I can see the buses at the light. I see a car that looks like his driving past me. And I was like, and I noticed that the man looked like down to the back. And I was like, wait, But he was moving so fast that I couldn't confirm. And I'm like, where is he going? And so I get to the restaurant where I was going, because he knows that when I get dressed like this, I'm going out. And he knows it's on my way home, because I won't go, outside of my comfort zone at night. Not unless God leads me to. And he wasn't. He was leading me to go to dinner and go have some fun. And so I get to the restaurant, I'm sitting down, and then I get the feeling that I'm being watched. And I'm looking kind of around a little bit, but I don't see anybody. And I'm like, Father, why do I feel like I'm being watched? And he goes, do you remember the red car? I was like, yeah. He goes, what do you think Ben was doing? Wait, is he making sure that I'm not, like, hooking up with other men? He's like, well, you did talk to 2 men the weekend before. And I'm like, well, you told me to. And he goes, yes. But he wants to confirm with his own eyes that you're being who you say you're being. Oh, okay. It's not that he didn't trust me. It's that he's like, are you really who you say you are? Most women lie. So I tell everybody, I go there because the servers are nice to me and they buy me beer every once in a while. And that night was no different. That night, my girl Cherokee was on shift, and she was busy working, so I don't bother them. I wait till they come to me, and then we talk and we have a conversation. And she came up to me and she goes, oh, you get off work? I'm like, yeah, dude, I worked so long. I was there for 9 hours. She's like, damn. I said, were you guys busy today? And she goes, yes, but I didn't think we were going to be because Billie Eilish is in town. And I was like, oh, Billie Eilish is here? I didn't know that. She goes, yeah. I said, we were busy too. I was like, oh, but it was so nice. I said, normally we get like a lull in between lunch and dinner. I said, but today it just rolled right into dinner. And I was like, yes, because that means the day goes by faster. And she goes, I know, right? So we're having server talk. Like, we're just having our own little conversation. And she goes off to do her thing. And, because that she's still working. I'm not. I'm now a customer. And so she comes back and she goes, do you want a lemon drop? Or no, she goes, do you want a shot? A free shot. I'm like, sure. She goes, it's a lemon drop. I've never had lemon drops. I don't know what the lemon drop is. But I'm like, God is giving me a free shot. I'm